So never change for a girl. Seen too many guys that have done a complete 180, their personality, their lifestyle for a girl that ends up leaving them anyway. Never worth it. Again, that brother energy is just seeping through there.
Well, that's just personal experience because I have two not me, but like I have two really good like childhood friends.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched that happen to them, both of them, like exactly that word by word. Like they get this new girl, you know, they kind of start fading away. They spend all their time with her. They start changing, you know, they're suddenly vegan now. They suddenly like they
Right.
stop making, you know, they're more like reserved with the jokes. They're like, "Whoa, guys, like you should chill with that." Like,
Right,
chill with the
right.
locker room talk. It's like, dude, like, who are you? It's
Mm,
and then the girl leaves, and they're just like back to the same person. It's like, what are you doing, dude? You've been
yeah.
putting on this mask. Like, it doesn't work.
I'm laughing because there's a little bit of pain in there for me. Not that I ever changed my dietary requirements depending on the woman that I'm with, but I think a lot of men will identify at this point, especially their first relationship, because you have no reference for it. So my first relationship was an awful relationship because I did exactly that. I completely lost my entire identity in that because she was the crutch for my happiness. And that is the most important step or awareness a man has to have before he gets into a relationship is, am I entering this relationship with contentness for myself, love for myself, compassion for who I am at this moment of time? If the answer to that question is no, you shouldn't be getting into a relationship, or you're not ready for a relationship.
Yeah, you can never go into it with you can never be desperate. You can't come from a place of desperation. Like you shouldn't
Mm.
be like, oh, I need this girl, like I need her to stay with me and I need to do
Yeah,
whatever it
it's like
takes to keep her.
scarcity, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like you're trying to you're trying to pander to her because you think that's how you're going to keep her.
Mm.
And it doesn't work. Like it's extremely unintuitive, but like if she doesn't like something about you or if she says she like, you know, you should change this,
Mm.
if you're like, you know what, no, like I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing,
Mm.
like it or not, like the door is there.
Yeah,
Like she's
I can.
actually gonna respect you more for
Mm.
that.
I was just gonna say I can hear all the comments screaming shit test at this particular point. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah. It couldn't be more true. And I like the way you phrased it there. Like it was unintuitive for me at that point to think that being a contrarian, well, not even being a contrarian, but being grounded in who I am, my values, and my principles. Um, is not is gonna like rock the boat or anything like that. So, oh, you have to change. You have to become, more flexible to her needs. You have to change your diet. You have to change what time you get up in the morning and go to bed. You can't go to the gym in the morning because you have to spend your morning with her.
Yeah.
And in your mind, again, if you're fresh into a relationship, or for the men who haven't maybe been in relationships before, this is such a huge trap. You think it's going to mean that you come together, you can spend more time together, that you're going to grow, that you're going to fall deeper and deeper in love. But it couldn't be further from the truth. Women like men who are polarizing. And I think, the point you kind of made there, maybe you can go into it a little bit more, is on the same kind of sentiment. You want to have that kind of contrast, you know.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I was just gonna say something. I completely forgot it.
It's all
But
right. So I'll pick it up. So like there's a natural and you guys know this. Well, hopefully you know this. This is the natural energy that we kind of sit in as men. Um, you have to recognize, regardless of what she says, by and large, women want their man to lead, right? And I mean, I like to say, can you think of a boat that has two captains? No, it doesn't happen. It does not happen, right? Because you're going to get all this pulling left and right and this kind of wishy-washy nonsense. You have to sit in the seat of your power and enjoy it. and not feel guilty, not feel like you're going to lose her, not be on the seat of anxiety or neurotic tendencies because you're not pandering, like you said, to her needs. She wants that, regardless of what she says, by the way.
Yeah.
Women's emotions was described to me one time like clouds, kind of like flying by in the sky. You watch them, they take form once in a while, they kind of take
Yeah.
form. It'll be like, well, why are you going to the gym in the morning? Why don't we have our coffee date in the morning, right? Anger will kind of take its little form there. And then once you just go, no, I'm going to the gym, this is part of my schedule, it will then disappear and fly away. No?
Yeah. And like the whole, like going back to the thing about like a ship can only have one captain, like this, like I'm not even trying to make this into like a whole ego trip thing where like, oh, I'm the alpha male and you listen. It's just like the healthiest relationships just function this way. Like the man, you know, calls the shots, he's in charge. We're gonna go here, here, here. We're gonna do this and that. And the woman follows. And like people are like, oh, like why can't the woman do it? But it just she's just not equipped for the job. You know, it's like you ask like
Mm-hmm.
a plumber to do the wiring in your house. I've tweeted that once. So it's like it just doesn't work. Like, you know, we're men,
Yeah.
we're hormonally optimized to play this role. And
Yeah,
if we're
I
not
think,
playing the role, it's just
yeah,
everything collapses.
that's the perfect way to describe it. And I think that describes it in a way that is a little bit more, what would you say, easier on the ears. Well, I mean, I doubt there'll be any women watching too masculine, self-professed masculine accounts talk about social dynamics, but uh, it's we have a predisposition for that. You know, a guy who is 6'11" is going to have a predisposition to be better at basketball. I can try, but he's just going to be naturally, he's going to have an advantage at that. Oh, and by the way, there are women now who are more masculine, and there are men now who are more feminine, and you can play that. Like, we're not saying that you can't
Yeah.
play into that. What would you describe it? A little bit more unconventional way of kind of sexual dynamics, but the evidence suggests that it doesn't work. This isn't even our opinion.
Yeah.
That's the important thing. The evidence suggests that it doesn't work long term that
I
way.
think that's like that's the really important nuance here because you know like we're not saying like we're not making a moral judgment, you know. We're not saying
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you're equal with your wife in your relationship, whatever, like you're a piece of shit. Like it's nothing to do with that. It's just listen, this is how, you know, things have worked for a long time. Very
Mm-hmm.
healthy relationships have always worked this way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're going to be happiest if you arrange your life in line with these principles. You
Mm-hmm.
can do whatever you want, give it a try. I mean, when it doesn't work, you'll come back and realize that we were right all along. Just...
100%. I mean, I liken it. I think the problem comes in. Well, there's a couple ones for kind of gender dynamics. I mean, I think there is a financial one. I think the other one that I wanted to talk about is this idea. When you start placing subjectivity on the roles, things start to get a little bit skewy. So when you believe a masculine role is more important than a feminine role, that's where things get very hairy.
Right.
That
Yeah.
that 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 I think is what filters in when most women hear this narrative. It's that, oh, he gets the lead, he gets to be the one, he gets to be the captain of the ship. I'm just the passenger. It's not the case. It's like saying there's duality in nature. So it's like saying, oh, the sun is better than the moon.
Yeah.
What a ridiculous statement to make. They're both different. They're both as important as each other, and they both have their strengths. It's like I mean, football is really big here in the UK. You have different positions on the football field. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
everybody.
in on
Go
the
on.
battlefield, there's like the frontline soldiers, there's the medics. Like is one no one's better than the other. You can't
Precisely.
if
You
there's no
can't.
medics, the soldiers just die from flesh wounds. If there's no
100%.
soldiers, the war doesn't get fought. Like you need both.
100%. 100%. And anybody that has, a well formed um way of articulating the way through life understand that fundamentally is that if you want to become a unit, because that's what a relationship is, it's a unit of more than one person. You have to have nuance within those units, and that they have to play their roles in order for that unit to be effective. So kind of back to my football kind of analogy. I mean, your army one was great, but people will place a lot of importance on like the strikers for scoring the goals, or they're scoring the goals. But you can't win a football game if you don't have a goalkeeper saving the opposition's goals, or the
Right.
defenders
Or
defending the
who's
goals.
passing to the goal scorer, you know? Like
100%. Who's assisting? So it's ludicrous to think that one place on the pitch is more important than another, and it's ludicrous to think that one person in the relationship is more important than one another.
right. And just like, you know, in football, like you can't have a team full of strikers. That would be ridiculous. Everyone's on their half of the pitch. You have no defense, no one in the net. It's
Yeah,
absurd. Like
yeah,
relationships are the same way. You can't, you know, you can't date the same person as you. That's just like it's not going to work out. Like you ideally you want to be with someone who's bad at the things you're good at and good at the things you're bad at.
yeah. I like that.
And
I like
that's
that.
that's how the best relationships work.
100%. And I think that is, for a lot of men watching, I think that should be part of your screening criteria when you're looking for a woman. It's easy to get lost in the superficial nature of, being pretty, attractive, good looking, which is important, don't get me wrong. But for most men, that's the entire focal point. That's the
Yeah.
entire rationality in the decision of whether or not I bring this woman into my life. If she's good looking, but wants to take the lead, always wants to be the bread winner, and is essentially another version of you, it is not going to work. It rarely is the case. In fact, you need a complementary other. um I'm trying to get better, but I'm perhaps not the best at organization and housekeeping. And
Same.
and and again, I know that sounds like cliche, like traditional roles. Oh, do you mean you want a house, like a housekeeper? I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you both bring different energies to each other's life, and even there's a narrative that that's somehow a bad job.
Yeah.
I dated a woman in the past who absolutely loved like home decor, like decorating, like making the place her own, getting like plants and like other like that. She got off on that stuff, but try telling her that, oh, that's misogynistic, that you're at home and cleaning and looking after things and making things beautiful and pretty. It's what she wants to do.
Yeah. I I don't know. It's really weird. Like these traditional roles and stereotypes, like people forget that they didn't just come out of thin air.
Yeah.
It didn't just drop out of the sky. Like they exist for a reason. I'm not going to say it's like right or wrong. I'm not to say it should be exactly that way. But, you know, it's very obvious that the genders have different inclinations. And when when you live in line with what you're good at, with what you're inclined to do, with what your hormones are telling you, like this, this is what you should be doing, like
Mhm.
everyone wins. It's not, and I think it's a weird ego trip, the whole like feminism movement. It's like, no, I want to be the one making money and stuff and blah blah blah. But you know that saying, like everyone's a feminist till there's a war to fight.
Yeah.
It's like it's like do you know what you're asking for? Like do you really want the responsibility, the
Yeah.
struggles that a man has to go through? Like yeah.
I think you made me think that the idea is more attractive than the reality of things.
Yeah,
You
100%.
know, I mean, it's the idea, like being a leader, getting into a relationship, being a man into a relationship is difficult. That's what people don't understand. It is people a lot, and I've been guilty of this in the past, and many men will be guilty of this who are listening to this, is that you think a relationship is some kind of leisure or a holiday or something like a treat, like you can pick up a donut in the shop. That's not what you're getting into here. You're taking on responsibility. You're taking on responsibility. You're now driving. You're professing yourself a captain of the ship, and it's difficult to lead. It's difficult to be a leader. It's difficult to plan things. Like you got to plan dates and activities, and you've got to keep the relationship moving, and you got to pair bond, and you got to get to know each other. Like it's a lot of work. Of course, there's lots of benefits to that, but rarely is any consideration of getting into a relationship on the work element of things. It's always on the pleasure, on the sex, on the good times. Rarely is it, I'm going to be a leader here. I'm going to give this woman direction. I'm going to create a life together. Now, not just my life, our life.
Right.
No. So the principle sounds good. Relationship sounds good. The reality is there's some hurdles to jump over.
Well, yeah, that's why like so many relationships die early because there's no I think, I mean, my theory is it ties into the whole like instant gratification culture. I mean, we just want everything now, now, now. It's like we're gonna have a bunch of sex, we're gonna go on a lot of dates, vacations, whatever. It's gonna be super fun, but no one's looking like very few people start dating like this is gonna be my wife one day. Like we
Yeah.
got to figure out like how are we gonna organize the household? What are
Mm-hmm.
our roles? Is she gonna be a fit mother for my children? Like
Mm-hmm.
how like guys just get so blindsided by like
Yeah.
the short term, it's fun now, it's going to be fun forever. They think it's not, it's
These
just
are
the
super
honeymoon
important
phase.
questions, man, that
Yeah,
people rarely think about.
yeah,
That just that one about like, is this woman could be my wife. Like not a lot of guys think about like imagine going on a date, looking at the person opposite you and thinking, you might be my wife, you might be the mother of my children. Now, that's not a thought that a lot of men entertain, because it's scary, but that could be a reality, And I like to think if you don't get that feeling that she is a fit mother, that she could be a fit wife, why fucking waste your time?
exactly. I was just going to say that. That's beautiful. Like if you're dating right now, spending time with a woman and basically all you're doing is just like having sex with her, like what are you doing? You're spending so much, you're wasting so much time on like, oh, you're watching movies together and dates or whatever. Like, why? Like, serious question. I've tweeted this before and people thought I was joking, but honestly, like, why don't you just hire a prostitute? Because you're not getting anything out of either of them long term. You're
Hmm.
just if that's all you're after, just like getting your dick wet. Like, what's the point?
Yeah,
It's
it's man, you know how to cut to the bone as well with some of your some of your tweets. It's a good point. It's a good point. I mean, I've often my version of that is kind of equivocating a promiscuous lifestyle to just using somebody else's body as masturbation. This I mean, they don't call it a fuck buddy for no reason.
yeah,
So I mean, it's there's some really important questions for a lot of men to be asking themselves in relation to how they relate to women in the dating market nowadays, because sometimes I just don't think it's worth it, especially when you're free of obligation when you're young. Like I did a video on this about this concept that there's this concept about the male advantage, right? We have an advantage period between the kind of years of 20 and 30 years old, where because we don't have a biological clock as opposed to women, we can kind of fuck around for a long time and still have kids.
right.
But if you use that time to not fuck around and dedicate it to business, entrepreneurship, could be, your body, your fitness, your health, really important assets to get in line very, very quickly. I mean, you can take a lot of risks essentially. You can
Yeah,
take a lot of risks. You
yeah,
don't have a family to support. You don't have a wife to look after. You don't have debt to pay off. You don't have a mortgage to pay. You don't have kids to get through school. You don't have to pay for their lunches or their piano lessons or their tennis lessons after school, you
yeah.
know? So stop fucking around, with these women during that time period and actually start taking the scarier risks, which are the ones that are going to move the needle towards you being a high quality man. And then you're going to widen your pool of options when you're peaking in the 30, 35 to 40 range. Pick a fit mother and a fit girlfriend, a fit mother and a fit wife, and happy days.
Well, like I've seen this happen too, like when guys like you said, guys have the luxury of they're able to like fuck around in their 20s, sleep around, whatever. But I've seen it happen where guys like do that for a while and it's fun for a while. And then they're like,
Mm.
okay, like I want something more serious now. And then they try, they try to like do like date for real, like okay, I'm gonna build a life with this person. And they just like they're so like I don't know how to explain it. Like their ability to like actually like connect with a person is just like damaged.
It's
They're
fucked.
just
Yeah.
they don't know like what a real relationship is. And they
Yeah.
try really hard, but it's just like I don't know, it almost feels like there's like a developmental period where you have to like learn how to like connect with the opposite sex
Mm.
in
Mm.
an emotional manner, not just a sexual one.
100%. I think that's a really good point. There's I had even considered that a consequence of that kind of lifestyle is you become emotionally inept, essentially, like socially emotionally inept in relation to
Yeah.
actually developing a relationship that is beyond the boundaries of a sexual relationship, as you mentioned there. Like it goes back to asking those real questions that we talked about in the beginning of this kind of point. Like, um, is this woman passionate? Can she show affection? Because compassion and affection is important to me. Is she respectful? And how do I articulate this conversation to ascertain whether or not she is respectful? What am I observing in a social context that gives me that? Is she polite to the waiting staff? Is she polite when she interacts with other people? That's a skill. That's a skill. Observation. That's a skill to be able to ascertain that. Most men are just thinking, when can I, fuck her?
Yeah.
They're
She's
not,
nice
not not
tits.
thinking
Yeah.
about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
blindsided by that, and they're missing up on so many. You know what the sad part of this might be is that there might be a man watching this who has gone through this stage and genuinely interacted with a woman who is
Yeah.
wife quality,
Yep.
fucked her, dumped her. She's now emotionally damaged from that situation and starts to become one of these women that men are, tapping on the keyboards that they don't give them the time of day, right? So
The
that's how the cycle starts.
I love like the pickup artists, like the super like red pill guys who complain about women being damaged goods and like you can't marry her if she's over 25 or whatever. And then the very next tweet they'll be talking about how they banged like 200 chicks. It's like, dude, like you are creating the
You are the
problem.
problem.
Yeah, it's you. Like if it smells like shit everywhere you go, check under your shoe. Like it's
Wow.
you. It's
Yeah.
you're the problem.
Yeah.
No, it's yeah,
100%.
100.
And with that, that's a, yeah, I couldn't have summarized that better.